All right, everyone, welcome back to Money Show's virtual expo. I am pleased to welcome Oliver Velez, Chief Trading Officer and CEO of iFund Traders. Oliver was our inaugural keynote speaker at the first ever International Traders Expo. He is a best-selling author, world-renowned trader, and entrepreneur, and is one of the world's most respected and celebrated traders of all time. The Dow Jones dubbed him the Messiah of trading, and today he continues to be defined as one of the most influential traders of his generation. Oliver, thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure, sir. It's all yours.
Fantastic. Thank you once again for having me. And thank you, audience. Thank you, traders, for your continued support. And thank you for your attendance here today. Yesterday, I was here. We had a phenomenal, dynamic talk on support and resistance and how that specific tactic is so profound and so prevalent in all markets that it's one of those it's one of the few things that you can use actually to earn your entire livelihood in the markets. And you can use that concept of support and resistance across all styles of market play. Today, we're going to talk about my 4-year wealth plan. Now, this is probably going to touch upon a number of my former talks on wealth accumulation, wealth building, and my views for at least the next era that I personally believe that we're in. And so many of you are going to find a common theme in this talk if you follow my work for any period of time here. But I strongly encourage that you give my talk here a chance today, because I'd like to at least bring you into my world, or how I personally see the world shaping, how it's been shaped over the years, and what that shaping has in store for us, if I'm correct, moving into the future. And that's all we can do, traders, is really extrapolate from historical precedences, historical cycles, and take those historical cycles and project probabilities and possibilities into the future. And that's what we'll be doing here today. All right. So we're going to talk about this is my 4-year wealth plan. And I must remind you that this is not necessarily a recommendation. It is edutainment, and I'm giving you the world as I see it. Okay. Now, for the benefit of those who do not know who I am, you can quickly peruse this slide. I've been in this industry, guys, since the mid-1980s. I built some of the largest trading organizations in this industry in the 1990s, 2000s, and I continue to spread the gospel of trading all over the world through books and talks. And I operate today one of the largest trading organizations in the world with over 13,000 traders across 96 different countries. Okay. And what I would like to do is let you know that you can continue to stay in touch with me. You can continue to follow me on my social media outlets. In particular, I'd like you to follow me on my YouTube channel, Oliver Velez Trading. That's the English version. And I have a Spanish channel as well as a Portuguese channel. My YouTube channel is one of the fastest growing trading-oriented, investing-oriented channels on YouTube. And I make sure I spend a great deal of time each day putting out a very pertinent piece of content for you, with the sole purpose of raising your level of market sophistication regarding short-term oriented trading, as well as long-term wealth generating activity. All right, so please follow me there. And of course, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well, I put out content every single day. If you're looking to contact me the most directly, I would say that Twitter is probably the #1 way to reach out to me, and know that if you get a response, it's not from a team member, it's not from a staff member, it's directly from me. So that would be Twitter. All right, so let's delve right into the material here, guys. My 4-year wealth plan. Now, first, I'm going to have to take you down memory lane here a little bit, or I can't say quite honestly that it's memory lane. Let's look at a little bit of history, and I'll try to get through this as briefly as I possibly can. Okay, a little history of gold and the Petrol Dollar, which is the current dollar denominated or dollar monetary, which is the current monetary system that the United States and largely the world is on. Okay. It's important to understand at least the broad strokes of what has created or brought us to the somewhat current petrodollar arrangement to know where we go from here. Okay. So, traders in 1933, I wasn't around, and the vast, probably 99.9% of you around, if not 100% of you were not around. But a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that in 1933, the United States confiscated its US citizens' gold possessions. Now, some people might argue that confiscation is a very strong word, but let's just say that America, or the United States government in 1933, gave every one of its US citizens less than 30 days to hand over every ounce of gold that they personally possessed. They were given a list of locations to go to hand this gold over, or face up to 10 years imprisonment. Now, this is a very, very pivotal point in American history, because what this message said is that the US government no longer wanted its own citizens to be able to convert its dollar into gold. Up until that particular point, a single dollar represented a piece of gold in a bank. And at any moment in time during business hours, you could take this piece of paper called the dollar, go into any bank and actually say, give me the actual gold instead. I don't want the paper anymore. But this was severed. This was made illegal to do in 1933. And every American citizen had less than 30 days to get this accomplished. Now, what made it easy for the US government to confiscate the vast majority of the gold without much effort was that most individuals felt it was unsafe to hold their gold in their own possession, in their home, under the mattress, in a vault dug into the ground somewhere, or in a wall. So most individuals felt it was safer to hold their gold in a bank. And so this custodial arrangement made it very easy, since the vast majority of people trusted a custodian to hold their gold, and the custodian was under the control of the US government banks. It was easy for the US government to say, all right, as of right now, no one can ask for their gold back. And any of those stragglers out there who are holding their gold in their mattress, and under board wooden floors or whatever, you've got less than 30 days to hand it in. All right. So it became illegal for US citizens to possess gold. This was very important. What happened next? World War II. And after the world emerged out of World War II, it was very clear that America was the superpower from a military standpoint, from an economic standpoint as well. And Europe had been ravished by the war. And during this ravishing of Europe, all right, most European nations in particular felt unsafe with their gold in their possession, while Hitler at that time was running through European countries, confiscating the country's gold that he and his army conquered. So most countries felt it was safe to use the US government as their custodian. So the US government was primarily holding much of the world's gold supply, especially from Europe, during World War II to keep it safe. Now, during 1944, it was agreed that the British pound, was no longer going to be the world's reserve currency, that the US dollar was going to be the world reserve currency, which means that the US dollar is going to primarily be the base layer of trade throughout the world. So when you want to buy copper, when you want to buy oil, when you want to do any international trade, you would use the US dollar and no other currency. That's what a US reserve currency is. And the world primarily agreed that it was best for the US dollar, having the largest economy, being the strongest economically, being the strongest militaristically. The US dollar emerged during this 1944 agreement called Bretton Woods as the US, as the world reserve power. But understand that while US citizens did not have the right to convert their dollars into gold, all countries throughout the world who started using dollars had the right to convert their dollar into gold. And so while their gold is being held by the United States, while they're doing their business in US dollars, at any moment, a country could say, okay, I don't want to hold this many dollars anymore. I'm sending you the dollars back. I need you to send me the gold back. So US citizens did not have this right. It was taken away, but every country had the right to convert their dollars into gold. All right, very important to understand. That ends in August of 1971, when President Nixon suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold by countries. Now, do you see a pattern here? 1933, US government suspends the convertibility of the dollar into the gold by its citizens. So now its citizens can no longer convert the dollar into the gold, but it can use the dollar, but it can't convert it into gold anymore. All right. It confiscates the gold. Now, the next thing is that in 1971, America takes a page out of the same playbook and says, now all countries throughout the world, you can no longer convert your dollars into the gold. So in case one, America says the gold is ours from its citizens. Case two, America says now the gold that you place with us is ours, and that the dollar should be good enough. You don't need to convert anymore. All right, so we're repeating the playbook. Citizens first, countries later. Right, so US government's gangster. All right. All right, so some people would say that in case one, the US government confiscated gold from its citizens. In case two, US government confiscated gold from its partners and its friends throughout the world as well. Now, what began to happen, now what's interesting, what you need to understand is that when the US government when the US government took gold from its citizens, it did give them $24 an ounce for the gold. But after they confiscated the gold, they immediately priced gold at $35 an ounce. Now, some people regard this as one of the greatest heists in financial history. $24, instantly repriced at $35. All right. Gold remained at a fixed price of $35 until the 70s. Now, here's something that's interesting. When Nixon made the convertibility of the dollar into gold by countries illegal, the dollar began to weaken. Inflation started to go through the roof. Something had to be done. So what does the US government through Nixon do? In this case, makes a deal with the Saudi Arabians to actually create what's called today the Petrol Dollar. This is a dollar that is, for the most part, backed by gold. This arrangement called for every country in the world who wanted to buy gold to have to do it through dollars. So every country had to first get dollars, and then with their dollars, buy oil from the Saudis, which was the largest producer of oil at the time. In exchange for this, the US government said, I'll protect you. I'll let you run around planet Earth and do anything you want to, but you have to make sure that every country buys oil from you only with dollars. And what this did was prop up the dollar and give the dollar a constant demand throughout the world. First, I have to buy dollars, then those dollars I can use to buy oil. And the world runs on oil, as we know. All right, so that's how we got from a dollar to a gold-backed dollar to gold being confiscated from citizens, to gold no longer being backed by a dollar, even by countries, to now the dollar being backed by petrol. You'll understand where this comes from. My story. Many people ask me, Oliver, how is it that you actually became interested in the markets? And some of you may know this story and some of you may not, but it's my dad. My dad was a taxi cab driver. And he had a very special client whom he drove back and forth to Wall Street every day, from Brooklyn to Wall Street and back. And he'd pick him up from Wall Street and back. This individual was a gold bug, and he had connections with the Nixon administration at the time. And he told my father when I was born that gold was fixed at $35 an ounce, but what he should do is every single week of his life buy 1 ounce of gold, which was $35 an ounce at the time. He gave my father a contact to do this through, and my father listened. My father, every single week of his life, bought 1 single ounce of gold, $35 an ounce for years. And during this time, inflation started to go through the roof in the late 60s into the early 70s. My father continued to do his $35 an ounce of gold every single week. And what happened, you can see in this chart, is after doing this for nearly 5 years or so, maybe I think it was something like 6 years or so. Okay. The $35, the 1971 speech happens by Nixon, which you saw. Nixon removes the convertibility of the dollar into gold across the world. The $35, see, this is $35. The $35 cap is removed, and gold takes off from $35 and rockets all the way to $900. Now, this move makes my family what some people would refer to as wealthy. I was too young to understand what was happening at the time, traders, but look, my clothes changed. Our cars changed. Our house changed. My state changed. My neighborhood changed. My friends changed. My school changed. I didn't understand why our life just got turned upside down during this time, but it was crazy. When I got old enough to understand what happened, this created the interest to want to do this for the rest of my life. I realized that if my dad, with 1 single act, which was gold at this time, could change an entire family's trajectory, could change an entire family's daily lifestyle, could change the way they live, could change their future with 1 decision, I want to make 100 of these decisions. I felt like I wanted to make these decisions every single day. And I found out there's something called an investor. I found that there's something called a money manager. I found that there's something called a trader, that you can actually do this as a profession. I was hooked. Do you understand? I was too young to understand what happened here at $35 an ounce when the cap was removed, but I did start to understand here back in 1978. I became old enough to realize what my father did, all right, to change our lives. And that sent me on this obsessive path to become a market participant. But this made gold a very special part of my life, traders, right? It changed my life. Okay. Gold changed my life. Thank God my father listened to his friend and his friend and client, I should say. But it changed our lives. And for that reason, I was a gold bug for the vast majority of my professional career. All right. I played the market, but I was always fond of gold. And those of you who know my history know that that's the case. All right. I've walked around with years with solid gold coins in my pocket. All right. For those of you who know me. All right. So this is impressive what happened to gold, $35 to almost $1,000 an ounce in a relatively short period of time. In the late 1990s, I began to accumulate gold. All right. Knowing what it did for my family, knowing that it's a phenomenal store of value, knowing that it protects one against the debasement of fiat currency. Now, remember, the dollar's not backed by anything. It's quasi-backed by petro at the current time, but it's still being debased to a certain period of time, certain point. And So I'm collecting, but I'm accumulating bullion. I'm accumulating solid gold coins, and gold bullion, which I'm storing in New York and in London. Okay. Then I get the word that the first spot ETF is being formed. I got this word in mid 2004. This was phenomenal. That for the first time in world history, you didn't have to buy the physical gold. You didn't have to go through the process of storing it in London and New York and insuring it and getting it verified. You could buy the paper version of gold and get the 1-for-1 result. And I felt this was a phenomenal idea for gold, because gold is very clunky. It's very cumbersome. It's hard to transport. It's really a mess as a physical bearer asset. But if you give me I felt at the time, if you gave me a paper version of it, I'd rather do that. All right. Now, I went into GLD in the first February of 2005, right here. And as you can see, GLD, the brand new spot gold ETF, rocked right in to 2011. So from 2005 to 2011, it's pretty much a straight line up. And it's an exponential rise in the price. Powerful, powerful. All right. And those of you who were following me at this time, you know I was pounding the table on gold, pounding the table on GLD. If you want to see those posts, I believe you can go back all the way back to 2009 when Facebook started, more or less, and you can see all of my posts on my Facebook starting about pounding the table on gold and how it's going to the moon. All right. Those posts are still there. All right. So check this out. Where am I going with all of this? All right. Hope I haven't bored you too far. Bitcoin takes over for gold in 2011. That's my thesis, traders, that gold did the first leg, and gold has passed off the baton to Bitcoin in 2011. Let me go back and show you. Look, here is gold running, right, from 2005 to 2011. It tops out in 2011 and basically goes dead. 2011, look, boom, 2011. See it? 2011. Why does it go dead? It passes the baton to its digital counterpart. Gold is the analog brother that passes on to the digital. Every analog item passes the baton to a digital version. Music, vinyl records became cassette tapes, became CDs, became streaming today. All right. And each version got bigger and bigger and bigger. All right. Photos went from cameras with the curtain on top of your head, poof, to, you know, the cameras you held in your hands, to the 30,000 digital photos that you never really touch, you just look at. All right. I've got 30,000 photos here. I never had 30,000 physical photos under the coffee table. All right. So the analog version always passes the baton to its digital counterpart. Movies, Blockbuster, physical movies, Netflix, infinite number of movies that you never touch or actually feel, you just watch. All right. Blockbuster, pass the baton to Netflix. Physical mail, letters, licking stamps and sending them in the mailbox, that passed the baton to email. Do you understand? Kerosene lamps passed the baton to electricity, the digital electronic form of the energy. Everything analog eventually passes the baton to its digital counterpart. And I'm showing you from the chart perspective that gold gives up the baton in 2011, boom, right there, and passes the baton to, all right, passes the baton to Bitcoin in 2011. And Bitcoin takes the baton and rises 480,000%. That's a real number. 480,000%. Now, the digital version is always going to be much bigger and much more valuable than the analog version. All right, remember that. The digital version doesn't just match the analog version, it gets exponentially bigger and more valuable. Okay, that's important to understand. All right, now let's go next. I know you're going to think I'm crazy. I know some of you are, but I'm okay. I've been called crazy almost my entire career. All right, I'll rock with that. My Bitcoin prediction for 2035, $13 million of Bitcoin. We are currently at $43,000, $44,000 a coin. There's a long way between 43, 44,000 and 13 million. And this is conservative, believe it or not, at least based on Bitcoin's past. So what's my thesis? Okay, look at this. Bitcoin is 13 years old. Gold is 4,000 years old. So it's time for gold to pass the baton off. It's freaking 4,000 years old. It's the 95-year-old guy in the room who's going to pass the control of his entire company, his entire fortune over to his grandsons. All right? Bitcoin is the grandson. Do you understand? Gold is old. It's the senior citizen. It's in a wheelchair. It's about to go. It's passing the baton. I'm not saying it's dead yet. It's just old. All right. It's analog. Bitcoin's 13 years old, yet in 13 years, it's become the 9th most valuable asset in the world. Traders, listen to me. Nothing has ever risen this fast on planet Earth. It is the most adopted network in the entire history of mankind. It is the fastest growing technology in the history of mankind. It has the network effect faster than anything that has ever been created on planet Earth. And it's reached from $0 to $44,000 in 13 years. All right. So basically, it's gone from 0 to a value of $800 billion faster than any other item on planet Earth. It took Microsoft 40 plus years to become a $1 trillion asset. Apple, 40 plus years to become a $1 trillion asset. It took Amazon 24 years. It took Google 23 years. It took Bitcoin 13 years, 12 years. That's crazy. All right. Now, it is currently the 9th most valuable asset in the world. This is going to become important. It's ahead of Berkshire Hathaway, which is number 10. Now, I need you to go up this list and take a look. Look at the fact that gold is right now at $12 trillion, the most valuable asset in the world. But let's not look at gold for the moment. Let's take a look at Apple. All right. Let's take gold out of the equation right now. All right. But let's take a look at Apple. Here's my thesis. Number one, the world is still short the upside in gold, which means that less than 2% of the world's population has adopted Bitcoin. And it's already, excuse me, guys, it's already number 9 in the world. Wait a minute. Less than 2% of the world have it, and it's already the 9th most valuable asset in the world. What happens when 4% own it? 6%, 10%, 20%, 30%? Do you see where I'm going? The number's not down from here. The number's exponentially up from here. We're less than 2%, and we're already the 9th most valuable asset in the world. Now, get this. I'm going to throw some numbers at you on this screen. Okay? So, Bitcoin right now is $44,000 a coin. At $110,000 a coin, it takes Apple out and becomes, without us considering gold right now, it becomes the world's number 1 asset in the world. Now, let me explain this to you. When Bitcoin becomes the number 1 asset in the world above Apple at 110,000, there will be no insurance company. There will be no financial organization on planet Earth that cannot own it. You have to own the most valuable asset in the world. It's even if you don't like it, you have to own it. There are many people who don't like gold, but they have to own it. Do you understand? There are many people who don't like Apple, but they have to own it. If you don't own Apple, you get fired. If you don't own Bitcoin at $110,000 and you're an institution, I don't care what country you're in. I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care what your religion is. Every single account, every single institution, every single firm, every single insurance company, every single money management firm, every single hedge fund, every single mutual fund will have to have an allocation to Bitcoin. So they're all short right now. And we're getting in before they get in. I am telling you, when I told you that gold took off at when the $35 cap was removed, well, Bitcoin's $35 cap is 110,000. I'm going to repeat that. Remember, let me go back to it. This is that important. Remember, I told you that Bitcoin, remember I told you that gold removed its $35 cap here. It was $35, $35, $35. Then boom, once the $35 cap was removed, well, Bitcoin's cap is not $35. Bitcoin's cap, in my thesis, is 110,000. Why? Because that's the point it becomes necessary for every single firm in the world, every single institution in the world must own must own Bitcoin at 110,000. It's not a choice. They will start to come in before, but it will be an explosion at 110 if my thesis is right. Okay. So institutions come on board in mass at 110. Guys, that's not that far from now. When do I think we'll be at 110 this year? Maybe in the next 2 months. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Maybe in the next 2 months we're there. But I believe this year for certain. That's my prediction. All right. So get ready. Institutions pile in. That takes us significantly higher. Here's another number for you. At 660,000, Bitcoin takes out gold. Oh my God. And then every single country in the world has to buy it. You see, every country in the world now buys gold. Every country in the world has gold on their balance sheet. Every country has gold to stabilize their freaking silly paper money. Do you understand? They have dollars and they have gold, although dollars might be a secondary choice right now, especially what's going on in the world right now. But gold is on the balance sheet of every single country in the world. But what happens when there's an asset more valuable than gold itself? The most valuable asset on the planet, every country in the world will pile in at 660,000. So these waves that will hit Bitcoin are going to take the price up exponentially. Do you understand? Because it's a limited, scarce, finite asset. Now, here's something interesting. In between these two, I believe something's interesting going to happen. So once Bitcoin is above 110 and becomes the number one asset in the world outside of gold, that brings all the institutions into the space. Then we get an ETF in between. So let me write this between. So this is what I propose. 110 takes out Apple. Boom. Institutions pile in. Step 2, spot ETF gets approved. Remember what happened with gold when the spot ETF got approved? That brings in retail, every retirement account, every 401k plan, every savings account, every bank account. I am telling you, retail piles in once this ETF gets approved. And then 660,000 takes out gold. And then every country comes in. So my thesis that takes us to this $13 million a coin are these three things. All right. You've got the explosion at 110. The explosion when an ETF, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You can't not approve an ETF when your asset becomes the most valuable asset in the world. What's the excuse then? All right. So the ETF follows the 110. All right. And then the countries pile in. And when you have countries constantly buying tens of billions of dollars of this thing is, you're going to see this thing start doubling every few months. You think that's not possible? It's already done that in the past without these players. Imagine with these players. People are impressed that Bitcoin has risen 480,000% over the past 13 years. It is the best performing asset ever known to mankind. I think that was a warm up. I think Bitcoin's starting price is 110, and we're getting in pre-IPO. Do you understand? 110 is the public IPO price. We're getting in pre-IPO. We're not late, we're early. Do you understand? And the beautiful thing is that you can buy $1 of this, $5 of this, $10 of this, because the price really doesn't matter. This is crazy, guys. I've never seen anything like this before. And remember, I'm a gold bug. My father was a gold bug. I understand Bitcoin now as digital gold, and it makes perfect sense to me. The digital version never goes to match the analog version. So it won't rise. Look at Bitcoin's value now, 44,000. Look at the analog's value now, 12 trillion. The digital version doesn't rise to match the analog version. It exponentially takes out the analog version. So if matching the analog version is Bitcoin rising to a $13 trillion asset, then where should it really go? 20 trillion, 50 trillion, 100 trillion? It's not going to be close. That we know for sure. So guys, I've been in this space for 40 years, 36 of those years as a professional. The other years were kind of idiot years. But I will tell you, I've never seen an opportunity like this ever in my life. Right. And I will admit that I didn't accept it before, but the rhetoric was different. The narrative was different. People were talking about Bitcoin as a way to buy, as an alternative way to buy hamburgers and soda. I said, I don't need an alternative way to buy hamburgers and soda. But when it clicked to me, no, this is digital gold. What are you talking about, hamburgers and soda? Oh my God, bing. And guys, I would tell you this. If you're selling Bitcoin before 110, you just don't know. If you're selling Bitcoin before the spot ETF, you just don't know. If you're selling Bitcoin before it matches gold itself, you just don't know history. You don't know the history of what digital assets do with their analog counterparts. This is life-changing, guys. It's not only life-changing all the way to 2035, it's life-changing over the next 4 years. So I'm telling all of my traders, all of my followers, Bitcoin has never failed historically, anyone who's given it 4 years. So what's my 4-year wealth plan for you, for me? Get Bitcoin today. Get off zero and dollar cost average into this thing like I did gold for years, like my dad did gold. My dad dollar cost average into gold every single week of his life, and we became wealthy. I dollar cost average into gold every week of my life in the 1930s into the mid 2000s, and then started buying it aggressively through GLD. You can go check out my post. Electronic footprints last forever. All right. This is how you massively make a trend pay off for you. And this is the next one. So we're going to dollar cost average into Bitcoin every single week of our life. I don't care if it's $1. $1 will matter. $5, $10. It doesn't matter. Get off zero. I don't know what the right amount for you is, but I do know what's not the right amount, zero. Just in case I'm right. just in case I'm right, a few dollars will do. And so that's what I'm telling everyone. Bitcoin has made, if you're willing to give Bitcoin 4 years of your life, it has never not made you wealthy. Never. And I believe it never will stop. Not in my lifetime, not in your lifetime. It's a baby. Gold's been going up for 4,000 years, silver for 9,000 years, bond market for 300 years, equity market for 150 years, Apple for what, 45 years, Microsoft for 50 years, Amazon for how many years? 25 years, Google for 24 years, Bitcoin 13 years. It's a freaking baby. It's going to go up for decade after decade after decade. Look at my dad's gold play from the 70s all the way to really now. All right. It's still working. This is a baby. We're early. Do not let price fool you here. All right. Now, let me just say this. I'm not the only one. Look at this. Bitcoin will be worth 10 million in 2029. These are professional money managers. These are not freaking simple YouTubers out there that's 21 years old trying to teach you about financial history. These are professional money managers formerly from Goldman Sachs telling you Bitcoin will be worth 10 million in 2029. I'm not the only one. All right. Dollar cost average using the fear and greed index. Very quick trick, guys. Fear and greed index, 3 colors. Orange is fear. Yellow is neutral. Green is greed. I put weekly amounts in. I have 3 different sizes: small, medium, large, right? When we're in orange, I'm large every single week. When we're in yellow, I'm medium every single week. When we're in green, I'm small every single week, but I'm never not, okay? I'm never not doing it. I'm apportioning my size based on fear and greed. My traders know that if you take the contrarian side in most things, you're going to be right as much as 90% of the time. All right. Most people are selling in orange. We're buying more aggressively. All right. Most people are buying aggressively in green. We're buying the least aggressively in green. So use the fear and greed index as your guide, guys. This is where we are today. All right. This is 4,000. 4,000 is the 40,000. 40, this range, 40 to 60,000 or 30 to 60,000 is the new 30 to 6,000 or 30 to 10,000, whatever. This is just the new range. It always does this: range and then blast off, range and then blast off. Get ready. That 110 price is the magic number. I'm telling you. And I think we get there maybe in the next several weeks. That's how aggressive I am. Last thing I will tell you here, guys. Stable coins, I believe, are here to stay. And your cash that you have on the side should be in stable coins. Like, as an example, Gemini's GUSD, all right? It yields you 8%. You're not going to get that in your bank, all right? It's safe there with Gemini. And I use stable coins for the vast majority of my cash on the sidelines. All right. I'm not into it earning 0.5%. I'm not doing that. It's earning 8%. All right. And just this alone, you're beating 90% of the professionals out there who are going to underperform 8%. Do you know how many people underperform 8%? How many professionals underperform 8% annually? Almost all of them. You're beating almost every single professional money manager in the world by just socking your money here. It's crazy. All right. You can do this, guys. Very quickly, guys. I teach my traders to mix certain stocks with the Bitcoin. All right. So that we create this basket that has the potential to outperform just a Bitcoin only strategy. I want you to join us with that. You can do this. If you're interested, guys, I started my wealth program in 2009 at the bottom of the market. All right. I was posting my wealth plays in 2009, 2010 on Facebook all the way back in the beginning. I launched it. I started it in 2009, launched it officially in 2010, and boom, we rocked this entire bull run. Only thing I missed was Bitcoin. Not anymore, right? But here we are again. I kept it closed for the vast majority of that time. It is now open again. Why? Because I believe we're at a pivotal time in the markets again. I only opened this club up when I believe we're at a pivotal market and in a wealth transfer period. I believe we're approaching the largest wealth transfer opportunity in the history of the world, because the first time in history, we regular, non-institutional individuals are front running the institutions, which come in to Bitcoin at 110. But with some option strategies, with some hedging techniques, and with a nice basket of stocks, we can actually up the number quite substantially. And that's what we do in my Trade for Wealth Club. So if you're interested here, guys, we have live study sessions. I show you my accounts. I show you my buys. I show you my sells. I show you every single thing I'm doing. Before I do it, we study the markets together. We scour the earth for the best opportunities together, and we do this forever. This has no expiration. This is a club for life. And as long as I'm alive, it's running. All right. So, regular price for this wealth program, guys, is $5,000, one fee for the rest of your life. All right. But in the next 72 hours, it's $2,000. Guys, you can lose that in one trade. It's a dinner with a big family and a couple bottles of wine. One fee for the rest of your life. And you will know every single thing I do. And if you follow my work for any period of time, guys, you've known I've hit the big winners. All right. All right. And of course, you get, as a bonus, membership into my Bitcoin trading club. Guys, whether you follow me or not, whether you become a member, a family member or not, please take my message today to heart. Do your research, investigate if you have to. But I am telling you, we're at this very pivotal moment. It's still early. And if you do the right thing from this point over the next 4 years, I believe your life will never be the same. Not only your life, but the lives of your children and their children will never be the same. This is a generational wealth opportunity. Thank you once again for joining me, traders. Love you to death.
All right, Oliver, thank you. Great presentation as always. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.
Ciao.